I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense to say that they're indoctrinating judges as some sort of leftist plot.
Okay, let's be clear. I'm calling for them to stop training judges because I think they are indoctrinating them. It's interesting you said that, but you weren't willing to go to the natural next step of, therefore it should stop.
On the board of an organization,
isn't it true?
Judges against them.
Mr. Arkush, your time is done.
Thank you.
Isn't it true that these programs, often hosted in conjunction with the Federal Judicial Center or the National Judicial College, can obscure ethics disclosure requirements because they fall under judicial exemption categories?
Senator Ted Cruz took on the director of a climate-focused judicial training program, accusing the Environmental Law Institute's Climate Judiciary Project of being indoctrination, not education. He pressed how funding from climate advocacy groups might subtly influence judges, undermining judicial impartiality. Cruz claimed the program embeds climate-first perspectives into the judiciary, going beyond neutral instruction, while the advocacy side defended the initiative as objective, science-based training.
Thank you. And I would note one of the reasons why the left and the Chinese communists resort to litigation is because their ideas are incredibly unpopular when the American people vote on them. So, for example, in the United States Senate, every Senate Democrat voted in favor of the California waiver that would effectively ban the internal combustion engine in 18 states across the country. Every Senate Democrat voted in favor of it, but you know what? The citizens aren't voting in favor of it. They're not campaigning. We don't see our Democrat colleagues saying we're going to ban the internal combustion engine. Even in bright blue states, even in Vermont and Rhode Island, the voters are not saying, take away the car out of my driveway. And yet, Democrat office holders are trying to use government power to fight the Democrat wishes of their electorate. General Kobach, let's talk about the courts. The Climate Judiciary Project, backed by the Environmental Law Institute, Energy Foundation, and private donors connected to plaintiffs' law firms, has trained over 2,000 judges, many in key jurisdictions where these climate cases are pending. Is it appropriate for sitting judges to receive climate science, quote-unquote, education from advocacy groups like the Environmental Law Institute, groups that are directly tied to the plaintiffs in active litigation?
No, Mr. Chairman, I do not believe it is any more than it would be appropriate for a group of justices to go on an extensive training conference and be trained in how to dispute or defend the fossil fuel industry. When you have a group of litigants in a pitched legal battle in approximately more than 3 dozen cases, if we're talking about more than just the ones brought by cities and counties, the judges are there to be neutral. And the worst thing I fear going into any case on any issue is if I know that the judge is already dug in based on prior things the judge has done or said against me. So, I don't think it's appropriate for litigants to be training the judges in essentially what their experts are going to say in the trial.
Mr. Chairman, may I respond to this as well?
No, because we've got limited time.
This clash highlights the growing skepticism among conservatives about the influence of external funding and ideological bias in judicial education, especially on contentious topics like climate change. Cruz positioned himself as a protector of judicial neutrality, warning of lawfare where courts become venues for policy change. Meanwhile, supporters argue that judges need factual grounding in climate science to navigate increasingly common environmental cases.
If someone else wants to get into it. General Kobach, isn't it true that... Actually, go ahead, Mr. Arkush.
Well, I just wanted to say that what Mr. Kobach is saying he opposes is exactly what's happening from the defense side as well. The Environmental Law Institute has multiple oil companies on its board, executives of oil companies, BP and Shell, and it has counsel representing them in court in important leadership positions.
So we may be breaking news here. Are you, on behalf of Public Citizen, calling for the Environmental Law Institute to stop training judges and indoctrinating judges?
What I'm saying is it doesn't make any sense to say that they're indoctrinating judges as some sort of leftist plot.
Okay, let's be clear. I'm calling for them to stop training judges because I think they are indoctrinating them. It's interesting you said that, but you weren't willing to go to the natural next step of, therefore it should stop.
I don't know that much about it, but I do know that BP and Shell are on the board.
But Mr. Arkush, if you believed what you were saying, you would be willing to call for it to stop. You're not, and that suggests you know damn well what it is they're training the judges, and it's indoctrination, and you don't want it to stop because you want the judges to be biased and rule in favor of these crackpot theories. Now,
I disagree
General
that
Kobach,
BP and Shell are on the board of an organization.
isn't
that
it true,
judges against them.
Mr. Arkush, your time is done.
Thank you.
Isn't it true that these programs, often hosted in conjunction with the Federal Judicial Center or the National Judicial College, can obscure ethics disclosure requirements because they fall under judicial exemption categories?
Yeah, I think, Chairman, you're correct. There are definite ethical problems, and in addition to the overarching sort of federal model of ethics, you also have additional state ethical rules that may be violated as well. But at the end of the day, it's judicial neutrality that is the biggest ethical constraint on our entire Article III courts and state courts, and that is the biggest problem I see going into any case.
It's also been reported that the Chief Justice of the Hawaii Supreme Court participated in these sessions at the same time that his court was reviewing one of these climate lawsuits. So active litigation, and yet happily being indoctrinated by interested parties in an ex parte sitting where the opposing counsel had no opportunity to refute the indoctrination. Mr. Walter, the Climate Judiciary Project tells judges that climate lawsuits are a, quote, unique opportunity for accountability. Would you call that education, or would you call that political indoctrination disguised as training?
Accountability is the standard term used by political activists to try to say, we want to hurt those folks that we're opposed to.
Do you believe Congress should investigate whether these trainings are undermining the impartiality of the judiciary?
Absolutely, Senator.
Cruz's attack signals a broader conservative effort to scrutinize and reshape the sources and content of judicial training, part of a larger strategy to guard against perceived ideological influence in the courts.